Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Life of Love. We gather in love and curiosity to bring forth a message for everyone's highest good. And today is a wonderful day. We have Suzanna Kennedy coming in from the beautiful island of Kauai, which I love the waterfalls and the scenery. And, the time I spent there was just magical, and I can't wait to get back. So now I know I have someone who lives there full time. So that I know. Susanna, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I look forward to this conversation. I know it's going to be dynamic.
Yeah, I want to jump right in, but first, I want people to have a little background. You've been an ascension coach for over 20 years, and you're dedicated to helping people tap into their consciousness, their higher consciousness, and overcome barriers that I'm sorry, I'm gonna re-say that. To overcome barriers and manifest a desired reality. So yeah, we're all about that. So, oh my gosh, yeah, let's get right into it. I mean, your new book, Sacred Union Ascending to a 5D Paradise, has been out since the fall, right? Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
If anyone's
Yeah, it's
listening,
been out since October. Yeah.
October. Well, it's beautiful, and I got a chance to peek into it, and it's definitely it's a gift. It's a gift to humanity. So congratulations and thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
So we're going to talk about some of this really great stuff. So, I mean, most people don't even say the word sacred in a day-to-day, conversation. It just doesn't really come up, and it is something that can transform your identity if you can see the sacredness in your life and the sacredness within you. In your definition, what is the sacred union? Can you give us a little insight as to what it means to you? Because it could mean something to everybody, right?
Yeah. Well, to me, it means two people coming together, two or more people coming together to serve the divine plan. So you can have many sacred union relationships. We can have a sacred union relationship right now, because we're both dedicated to the service. So um, yeah, usually to get to that point, you need to, work on yourself and come into that divine alignment and really be radiating your own human divinity. And then
Well,
when you bring people together in that energy, in that consciousness, then it's really, really powerful for manifesting, the best of everything.
so it's like that frequency, the frequencies connect and give you sort of a boost. It's like a synergistic boost.
Right. And it's exponential boost. It's really a big boost when you can do that.
Well, I feel the energy right now that we did a little intention that we're going to bring forth a message for the highest good. And I was like, I felt it right then. So I'm glad to have your affirmation that's, when you're asking for the ability to be of service, to be there as a conduit, that it gets recognized by the universe.
Yeah. Well, and most people, when they hear those words, and I was the same, think of like a romantic relationship. And, I had to learn, and now I teach. It's a sacred relationship with your own higher self, with your divinity and your body. And so, if you want a sacred relationship with another, you have to, do that first for yourself. And then you automatically attract, somebody who matches your vibration in that sacredness. Yeah.
Yeah. It's empowering because it's not dependent on somebody else showing up. It's all you. And like you
No,
said,
it is. It
it's
is all
work.
you. And you do that inner work because, a lot of people, they want to change their outer circumstances. When I get my partner, I'll be happy, I'll be whole, and it's like, no, when you're whole inside, then you attract another whole, mature, sacred being. or many.
Right. Like you said, the possibilities become exponential. I
Right,
love how you said that. And,
right.
well, that begs the question is, you know, working on yourself, and it's really hard to see patterns, and it's really hard to look closely at yourself, and I think a lot of times we think we're serving by you looking at other people and saying, "Wow, they could have done that better," or blah, blah. But really, when you're doing that, you're deflecting and you're not looking at yourself because you're spending too much energy looking at what other people are doing. So to me, it's amount of, and you talk about this in your book a little bit. I mean, a lot, the emotional healing.
Yeah.
And so if, can you go through, and I have an idea of how it looks for me, because I've gone through a lot of this work, a lot of this soul searching and know thyself,
Mhm.
right? You have to understand what is going through your body and own yourself. And, it's not necessarily something our society teaches to look at yourself. We're
They don't
always,
want you to look at yourself.
no, we're always getting affirmation or paychecks or, it's always this external validation. And that's the opposite of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You might not be accepted. So, can you tell me a little bit about your process for emotional, first, identification of emotions, and then healing? I know it's a loaded question. You could probably talk for 2 hours on this, but yeah, if you can give someone some insight into how to get in touch with thyself, yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's observing, your life is a blueprint of it's a reflection back of your consciousness. So if it's in your life and you're not comfortable with it, then it's there inside of you. And the easiest way to change it is to, go inside and change. So I created I call it a consciousness technology, and it is called the Emotional Mental Detox Program, and
Ooh.
and it I've identified the 6 core issues that we all have in common. And they're subconscious programs. They're a set of limiting beliefs. And we have them in common because we all grew up in this whole world of that's kind of the foundation is the illusion of separation. And so that's why Sacred Union is the solution to the
I
illusion of
know.
separation. But so I've identified those 6 core issues, and each one of the 6 core issues has a whole lot of, um, there's a lot in each one that I've also identified. So I take people through in a guided meditation type style. That's my delivery style. And take each of the core issues by itself and all of its variations and have you connect with your higher self, with that creative authority within you, and then I give you like what we call intentional commands
Yes.
because it's thought plus energy creates, right? So the intentional commands is the thought part, and then I use divine love as the frequency part to you put the two together and you can create something new. So we call forward by intentional commands all of the false limiting beliefs and patterns and programs. And it's very comprehensive and it works multidimensionally. So it's working with the beliefs, which is in the mental body, but those beliefs have created events in your life. So the beliefs create your life, your events, and some of those events are painful. And so that event triggers an emotion, and subconsciously, those two things go together and get recorded. And what it appears to us is that that belief was just validated as true. but it really didn't. It was the belief that created it. If you had a different belief, it would have created something different. So we
Mm.
clear the not only the limiting beliefs, but the memory and the emotional content of all of the events that that belief created in your life. And, we go, there's 6 core issues that I've identified, and we go one step at a time, usually one a week for 6 weeks. And it's and we clear it from your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, all of your spiritual bodies, plus your ancestors. So anything that came in on your DNA that was not resolved by your parents or even further generations back, and also your alternate lives, parallel lives, past lives, future lives. And it does get your future lives too, because once you change the programming, you're going to be creating different types of events.
Your timeline shift. You're on a new
Oh,
trajectory.
very much. Every time, every week we do another one and it shifts again. So it's really taking people up one octave at a time, frequency wise, because when you clear the past, the beliefs that vibrate at a lower speed, the emotions that vibrate at a lower speed, you clear that out and it automatically raises your vibration. And what I find is that the higher your vibration, the more graceful your life is, the more easy, the more synchronicity, the more magical it becomes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been out for 20 some years. This program, the Emotional Mental Deprogramming System, and then
Mhm.
just recently, and that's been out as a digital course that people can do it on their own. And then recently, I was guided to upgrade it again because it was created so long ago. And it does take people from a third dimensional consciousness to a
Mhm.
fifth dimensional consciousness. But lately, I've been integrating higher dimensional consciousness for myself. And so now I'm working on integrating this. I have done it consciously wise, is the eighth dimensional frequencies, and getting them to integrate into my physical body. So I was guided to redo it or upgrade that 20-year system, and it is now called the Sacred Union Reprogramming System. And I'm doing that live instead of on a digital recording so that I can uh, give people coaching. And and it's a group, it's a small group
Mhm.
offering, so that everybody gets unique attention during our meetings, and yeah, helps to integrate it more quickly and more gracefully. So I'm really loving that. I love working with the groups and having that community support each other. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, and how amazing to have this legacy of a program evolving and growing with what people need. And I mean, just so powerful to go through all of those parts of your being and acknowledge that we are multidimensional beings, and we have alternate dimensions, and we have these things that come at us, and it's not our fault. This programming, like, you, and I love that it's like it's just programming. It's not your fault. You
Right.
didn't create this. This is something you might have contributed to it by tuning into the system, but this is something, like, I love how you're saying it's, all the 6 core issues everybody has. So
Yeah.
nobody, you can have compassion for someone else, and you can have compassion for yourself, because this is everyone's reality. Everyone needs to break through it to ascend, to get to this place of magic and feel less dense. And I loved how you put it in your book. Well, as one of the people who talked about your book in the introduction, balancing the physical path while honoring the expression of the sacred.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
just, to me, that just hit the nail on the head. I was like, that's why it's so rough. We're all having such a hard time because we have these physical bodies and they're dense. And at the same time, we have these light bodies that want to help us. We have to like tune into it, but then also be in these bodies that are struggling with the programming and struggling with the expectations or the things that are just, we're just born into it, and you adjust and you acclimate to survive. But then at some point you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel good.
Mhm.
And to me, like, people, if you can't even put your finger on the emotion because you've been so medicated or you've ignored your sacredness for so long, just try to know if you feel good or you don't,
Right.
then
Right.
start with
And
that emotion.
yeah. Well, and a lot of people, can't even identify what brings them joy because it's been so just non-existent for such a long time, maybe having to go all the way back to childhood and your innocence and before the programming took over. But it's you're right. It's like it's not our fault. It's the way
Hmm.
that we were designed. And in those first 7 years, we're creating the personality, the self-identity that we're going to use for this lifetime, but it's not the true self-identity, which is, a divine being, a being of love. So
Mm.
I kind of see it as like how they have these video games. And when you enter and start to play a video game, you have to create an avatar,
Mm.
a representative of yourself in the game. And, that's how I see what our personality and our self identity is. It's an avatar, and it's our soul that's playing the game. And to win the game or to go to the next level is to remember that you're the soul that's playing the game, and you're not the avatar. And when you do that, you start to take more control over your life, and what you're creating becomes very different and much more
Mhm.
graceful.
I love the idea of detoxing. It's like you're just clearing those cords, those habits, those emotions, those things that don't serve you anymore, so you can be where it's a higher place, a more joyful place. But yes, I couldn't agree with you more. It's that identification of what brings you joy. And joy is different from happiness.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and, it's everybody has that programming in those first 7 years. That's just the way our mental body was created, and so we're creating these avatars, and we think that's all we are. So most people who haven't done this kind of inner work, this deprogramming of some kind, um, they might be adults, but they're wounded 7-year-olds inside those adult bodies. And that's, what we're usually dealing with. And you're right. When you do this work yourself, you realize and you have compassion for yourself that you had this programming, and you're really joyful and grateful that it's gone. And then it's really easy to identify when somebody else is behaving out of their programming. And you do have compassion because, that's their programming, and you just happen to be the one that they're projecting all over at the moment.
And
But
you can change that person's response by not being activated, by holding space for where they are, or even saying, yeah, this is really frustrating, instead of joining them in their frustration, and even find humor in a situation, not to belittle, but if you look, I I've had a couple situations where I actually see the grown person as like a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, and it's hard for me not to be amused like outwardly, but
right.
It just puts a different lens. You're just like, "Oh, honey, it's all right. We're gonna get through this,"
Yeah,
"Don't worry."
and sometimes that's what they need to hear.
They just need to hear
Yeah.
it. Like, "I
Um,
see it. I see it. This stinks. It's real, but we can focus on this," like, just offer another vibration to it. It's a fun way to be in the world. And then I love how you have developed a system to clear it. And then if you do feel an emotion, you can say, well, I'm feeling a little um the one that it gets me is separate, like the illusion of separation. That one gets me a lot. Like if I offer to help somebody and I'm doing it from my heart, I really want to help them and they won't let me. That really gets me because I can see so clearly how I can help, and then I feel like rejected or unworthy when they ignore me or roll their eyes or whatever it is. I have to sit and go, okay, this is me. This is me feeling rejected. And I have the best intentions, and I'm coming from, maybe I'm supposed to do something else with my time. Maybe God has a different plan for my day than to spend the day helping this person, even though I want to. And so instead of feeling that separation, I'm like, no, there's just another path I'm supposed to go down. I spend like 30 seconds feeling rejection instead of 3 days. You know what I mean? It's like it's there. I see it, but I reorient. That's the best way I can try to explain to somebody how it could work.
yeah,
Because you're not never going to get rid of those feelings. They're part of your consciousness. And maybe I haven't done your program. Maybe if I did your program, they'd be completely gone. But that's
yeah,
where Julie Hilson is at this point. I still feel it. I'm like, oh, I just wish everyone could see what I see in them, but it's their path. And, you don't have to fix everything. There's a reason it's there. And you got trust.
yeah, yeah. We do have to trust, and yeah, I s- don't. I have stopped um, offering to help. Um, when I see something like that, I might say, "Oh, I understand that. I felt that way, and this is what I did," and then just leave it there. Just
Hmm.
the shortest little thing. And if they ask a question about it, then I know that they're ready. If they just turn away, then they're just not ready. And
Yeah.
it doesn't do either one of us any good to try to help somebody who doesn't want to be helped.
No.
And they may need a different, like you say, a different route or hear it from a different person. Sometimes it's the family that is the least likely to listen to you. So,
Oh, yeah. It's so fun.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I just did want to mention that the emotional mental deprogramming system, the way I've set it up in this guided meditation style, makes it really easy to go through. It's not a heavy thing. You don't have to remember what the trauma was. You don't
Mm.
have to bring forward those feelings and process them. It's and when I was developing it, what I discovered is that there's a particular frequency that you can use to prepare for this that makes it really quick and easy. So it's called the triple flame activation,
Mhm.
and it's on. And right now, I think I called it. It uses the triple flame frequency, but it's called the quantum peace activation, which is on my website as a free gift for anyone who wants to do it. But what it did is it goes through and it clears the chakras and the meridian pathways, which is where a lot of the blocks to energy flow are found. And so when you clear those with this triple flame frequency, then when you call things up from wherever they're hidden and suppressed and all the memories, they just flow through because they're going to go through those pathways on the way out. And so when you do it, you you're not getting stuck. You're not activating a memory of those traumas. You're just breathing them out and into an alchemical container so that they don't leak out into your into your world. So you also don't have those what do they call them? Healing events afterwards, those healing crises after you do a big change in frequency. Sometimes you get a healing crisis. And so I found a way to make sure that doesn't happen as well, so
Mm.
that everything gets loved up before it has a chance to manifest.
It sounds so lovely. And, I just pictured like, you have your triple flame roto rooter clearing the path, and
Right.
then you just expel it all. And the love, what do I want to say? Does it transpose it or transmutes it
Yeah.
to, because love's the highest energy in the
Yeah.
quantum, right?
Right. Yeah. So the triple flame in the quantum peace activation, those frequencies are the synergistic blend of divine love, divine wisdom, and divine power, creative power. And so they're very strong frequencies on their own, but when you put them together, they're really very powerful. And it's the same. Some call it the trifold flame, or it's been called, because it's been around, and a lot of the spiritual teachers have used that for healing over the centuries. So it's not a new frequency. It's just kind of I'm applying it in a way that hasn't been applied that I know of before. And that
Mm.
is to prepare you for doing the deeper inner work and having it be more graceful.
And this all works because we're beings of light. And
Right.
this might be a new concept to some people in my audience, that you're a divine being of light. And so these energetics work with you. And if our bodies can't see, sometimes we can feel it. Some people can see, but in general, our bodies aren't designed to sense these things. That's why it's 5D and up, is because it's not something our senses can take in um, at a general baseline. So, if you can connect to the idea that you are a divine being of light, and it opens up these light resources that are available. And
Right.
that's what I find so amazing. And, when I first started working with angels, I didn't understand that they were actually connecting to me, to my inner God, because God works with angels.
Uh-huh.
And then when I started working with angels, I was like, who am I to work with angels? That's a little pompous. Like, that's a little crazy to say I talk to angels, and it's not a song. What's that? Counting Crows. It's like, but it's your divinity, that you have God in you, and so the angels can be your helper too.
Yeah.
And
And yeah,
hmm,
and it's all, backed up by science, and quantum physics tells us that we think we're solid, but we're not. We're vibrating strings of energy. And the energy field around you, is all frequency. Frequency is the language of energy, and it's like an information field. And so you can pull out of that information field, just like if you were working with a computer and you say, I want all the files that have to do with fear.
mhm,
And so all the beliefs and all of the thought patterns that trigger the feeling of fear. So there's the mental, and usually when you have an emotion, it's been preceded by a particular thought. And so
mhm,
when you go through and you do this kind of subconscious deprogramming, you find that what we call negative thoughts, they stop they stop coming up to the surface, and all of those mental habits and mental patterns So they get cleared out, which makes room for, the higher, more graceful, more compassionate thoughts to be inspired and replace that and then create a better reality for yourself because your thoughts are always going to create. So let's choose some some thoughts that create what we want instead of what we don't want.
Yeah, we don't have to be a victim of your subconscious, of your emotions, of the past. You can start fresh. And that's the most magical thing. And that's why I say it shifts timelines, because you can go from one person one day to a completely different person the other day. It's all up to your thoughts and the way you're presenting. And it's just really gooey to me, the triple flame, because
Yeah.
you have the power, you have the energy, you have the divine inspiration, you have your inspiration, and you have your, what was the third one? I got lost. You have your power, you have your divine inspiration, and you have your creativity. So you can use your gifts that you have that you're longing to use, and that brings you joy when you use those gifts and
Yes.
connect to the world with your ultimate joy. Because that's why we follow people online, or we go to certain movies, or we listen to certain music. It's because that person's creative joy is enticing, and it builds a connection. You see something in that person's art or their expression that you identify with, and everybody has the chance to do that. You don't have to be a Michael Jackson or a Shania Twain or whatever you listen to. That you can just be yourself, and you can be totally magnetic to to communication, to relationships, that and that's how you can break it down, are those three things, and then you can live in your joy. And it's just so beautiful. I thank you for bringing this forward today. It's a great reminder, and it's like a container. It's like it's all together. I feel like sometimes we get these little pieces, but this is comprehensive. I love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, that was brought forward from my career before I did all of this, which was an instructional designer. So I designed training programs in the corporate world. So now my subject matter experts are up there, and I can still use my human skills of putting together information and transformational systems.
Well, isn't that exciting? Like nothing is a waste. Like
You know.
everything you do, even if it's a job that didn't work out, you learned something that brought you to this path, to what your ultimate expression is. There's no, that's what I love about living in this reality, is that there's everything is synchronicity, everything. And life gets gooey when that, even when you were talking before and I heard the rooster crowing, I'm like, oh yeah, we're supposed to pay attention to what Susanna's saying right now. There's that rooster.
Yeah.
Oh, I've just been so delighted to have this conversation, and I love everything that came forward. And your website is um okay, but I'll put your website in the show notes so people can go and check out what you're offering. And man, I can just see the people whose lives have changed, and then everyone around them. It's like a exponential effect. You touch one person and they have a lifetime with 50 or 60 other people, and those people are changed, and it's a beautiful resonance. And I thank you, and I honor what you're doing. It's such a delight to meet you.
Yeah, well, I feel the same. You're doing important work as well, and yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience.
Mhm. Thank you.